You.
That is right. Okay, well, my clock just hit 9 a.m. on the Pacific time zone, so why don't we get started? And just a really good morning to everybody that isn't Eastern time, and for those of you that are, I'm glad you're having lunch right now during the webinar. Thanks so much, and really want to thank you for joining us for today's webinar, which is Home Building Follow-Up in 2016, How Do You Stack Up? With a big question mark, maybe even 3 or 4 question marks, because it's a very good question, and I think you'll
That's
find
okay. I'm on a
that
Lasso
with the
webinar
information
right
that you
now.
received today from Mike and Kevin, it just really will give you some insight in terms of how your
They had
follow-up
200
system and
people
what
on it.
your messaging is in terms of
Well,
how
that's
you're
what they
following up
say.
against what your competitors are doing. My name's Dave Betcher, and I'm with Lasso CRM, and
Kevin
I'll be the
Oakley's down there
moderator of
too.
today's session, and as we've kind of been mentioning, I
He
think we're
hasn't said anything
going to
yet.
have just over about 380
I'm
participants,
recording
and
it.
trying to get to 400. We'll see if if we get there. So just before I introduce Mike and Kevin, I think they don't need a lot of introduction, but just a couple of really quick housekeeping items for today. And
Okay.
first off, I think as most of you
It's
know,
about
these webinars are
follow-up,
recorded, and certainly after
follow-up,
the session
essentially.
today, we'll do a little bit of formatting, but we will
The way
certainly
they set
send the recording to each of you,
What's
so
that?
you'll have those in your inboxes, and please feel free to forward those along to your colleagues that didn't have a chance to join us today. If you do have questions, and I hope lots of you do have questions today, there's a little chat box over on the right-hand side of your screen when you log in, so just type those in. We may or may not get to all of them, but certainly during the presentation, we'll try and answer as many as we possibly can. I think everybody knows that you are muted on the call, so we won't be able to hear you, so just type your questions in. So that's really it for housekeeping, and why don't we get to the good stuff now? And just let me introduce you to Mike Lyon and Kevin Oakley of Do You Convert, who are going to be the presenters of today's webinar.
Okay.
And I've got about 7 pages of notes on you guys again, but maybe I won't
I have to
talk
get in the
about
shower in 30
all 7
minutes,
pages
but,
really quickly. Kevin Oakley, just over a decade of running sales, marketing operations for builders of all shapes, sizes, and areas of expertise. Kevin, you're a published author and certainly a regular speaker at builder shows across North America.
I do have good news for
thank you for joining in today, and certainly Mike Lyon, a nationally recognized speaker, author, top innovator. I love that word, and certainly a top innovator in online lead gen and conversion in really in the home building and real estate industries. And Mike, you've worked with many of the top 100 builders in the U.S. and certainly several of the world's leading real estate companies. So really thankful that you guys are with us today. And geez, I was just doing a little math, and this is actually the 9th webinar that you have participated in with Lasso that the Do You Convert has been part of. So just really great. So why don't we get the party started, and let me turn the presentation over to you two, Mike and Kevin.
Yes, thank you so much. And Kevin, how come your picture's not on here too? We should have had you on here as well, because Kevin put a lot of hard work. Yeah, right. He put a lot of hard work and effort into this study that we did in collaboration with Lasso. We'll talk about that here in a second. But first, we've got something special to talk about, don't we, Kevin? Yes, we do.
Yeah. Exclusive for this group right here.
You guys are the first to know. So we have the Online Sales and Marketing Summit coming up for 2016. You'll see the address there below. It's in Denver. I lived in Denver for a long time. It is one of my favorite cities. It's September 20th and the 21st, and VIP registration is open. It's at the Curtis Hotel, a super cool hotel with cool, funky rooms and all the great stuff. So we've got that plan, and the registration is open. And Kevin pre-sales like a boss. So, Kevin, what would you tell people thinking about attending that conference coming up September 20th and 21st?
Really, the big thing, and it's not the sales pitch. It's just start talking about this with your owners and managers now, because once that registration opens, tickets go fast. You know, we limit it to 100 people to keep the size small, so that everyone gets a chance to ask questions. You know, and be fully interactive with us and everyone else there. So, it's a small, intense group. So make sure you start talking about this now. Don't just sign up and wait. Sign up and then start prepping and get those initial approvals from everyone so you're ready to go when it's time to go.
That's right. We're excited about last year. We sold out in 36 hours when we launched to the public. Don't miss out. Join us. If you see yourself in the 33, sorry, 33 hours. If you see yourself in the picture, use the question and say hi and say you see yourself there. But we really had a great time last year, and so we'd love all of you to be here where you learn more about online lead generation and lead conversion. All right, that's our promo. Now let's get right into the study. What do we know about our customer? What do we know about our consumer? What do we know about our buyers? We know that 100% of them are influenced by the internet. Now you go, 100%, I've never heard that stat. And Kevin, what are we talking about when we say 100%?
We mean everyone. Every single person, even Grandma is influenced by, holy cow, we're getting registrations right and left.
Yep, absolutely. So guys, hey, listen, they are all looking online. They are all paying attention to what's happening in all the sources, and we need to make sure we pay attention to them. So we can't just think about who's walking in the door. We think about who is reaching out and talking. But those people who are in the buying mode, they're online. And so what we know is for many of them, not all of them, but for many of them, they are going to start their search. They're going to go online. They're going to fill out a form. They're going to download a brochure. They're going to do something like that. And that's where the path of converting browsers to buyers, this funnel, comes into play. You guys have seen this before. But essentially, they're online. 1 to 3% submit a request. 20 to 25% will schedule an appointment. 30 to 35% will write a contract, and this should equal 20 to 25% of all of your sales. So you've seen that before. One thing we want to note out, when it turns green on that funnel in front of you, that 20 to 25% that's setting appointments only happens when you have persistent and consistent and great follow-up with your prospects. Guys, there's still 70%, 75% of people out there that won't take action with you really working hard. So this just doesn't happen right away. It has to happen with persistent and consistent follow-up. And what we've seen in our industry, when you look at the previous survey results, what we've seen in our industry is a huge, huge opportunity, right? Because you can see here the responses year over year. Nobody's emailing and nobody's calling. Nobody's picking up the phone and calling them. And guys, this is a huge opportunity. I mean, the emails should be easy. That should be automatic. It should be going out. But this is just people who are not responding at all. We don't count autoresponders. We count actual follow-up. These are people not responding at all. But then the phone, guys, the phone is a lost art. Guys, people think the phone doesn't work anymore. People assume that they don't want phone calls. Guys, we have an opportunity for phone calls too. So we've seen these studies, and when we set up this study this year, Kevin said, Mike, let's do something different. We talked with Lasso. They said, let's do something different. Because here's what's going to happen. If we go do the same poll where we go survey and fill out forms for 200 builders online, we're going to get the same results again. So great, we'll have a webinar that says, hey, guess what? It's the same. We wanted to do something different this time with a new goal. And let's talk about that new goal a little bit, Kevin. Let's tell them what we were looking for.
Yeah, it's something that Mike and I hear a lot, and I'm sure you've heard it too, is that nothing's really new. Hey, I've got an online sales process, I've got a CRM, I've got a person in place, I've got this system, and the box is checked, so to speak. And so the question really is, when we do this year's survey, we wanted to see, are people just checking the box on this, or do they really see it as a game-changing opportunity to get their unfair share of what is in your own market from the leads that you're already getting? And
right.
So instead of shopping 230 builders plus, it was let's focus on 30 and really look at exactly what they're saying, and are they taking it to the next level?
Yeah, so Kevin's going to get in more about this study because I think that's important here in just a second. But when we're talking about this, what you'll notice is it's shifted from a real quantitative to this year we want to do a qualitative. Not just is it happening or not, and how many times, but what do we think about this? And so tell them how you were putting the metrics in place and what that looked like on the conversion quality score.
Yeah, so because we're talking about quality, we have to define what that means and give it a standard. So we created this conversion quality metric. Simple, because we're salespeople too. We like simple numbers. So score system from 1 to 3. 1 meaning, hey, the follow-up was performed, but it was kind of cold and lifeless. It feels impersonal. Score of 2 meaning, hey, they actually paid attention. And you look at when we sent in the information, we gave the builder everything they needed to know in order to have a real conversation and a real dialogue and build a real relationship. So a score of 2 says, hey, you at least referenced in that follow-up something related to what the shopper asked. Score of 3 is where now it's becoming a real conversation with real emotions, real excitement that you can feel coming through the follow-up, whether that's an email, a phone call, or a video email.
Absolutely, I love it. Before we continue to move on, I want to ask a very important question out to the audience, all 209 of you who are on right now. Whose background do you like better, Kevin Oakley's or Mike Lyon? I'm jealous of Kevin's background in his office. I think that's great. You need to go over the questions and tell us who you like to say, Kevin or Mike. I want to see which one it is, but that's pretty good. So when we talk about our secret shopper, when we go, Kevin wins, dadgummit. When we talk about our secret shopper and how this works, you know, what we always, the goal is always we want to lob up something easy. We don't want to make it hard for these builders. Let's kind of walk through who's winning. Who is it? Who's winning?
Oh, it's me. And yes, Chris, it's not shiplap, but it's close.
No, you are not. I see 50%. This is oh no. We need to get tallies.
Stay focused. Stay focused, Mike.
Stay focused. All right. So let's talk about the request. Go, Kevin.
Yeah, so this is the exact request. For those of you who wondered, was I on the list of people who were shopped? If you see this request in your system or in your, unfortunately for some of you, your Excel file that you're using to track your leads, this is what we sent. And it includes, again, everything. It looks very simple, but it included where we were moving from, why we were making a move, specific product that we were looking for, a 3 to 4 bedroom home that's a good value in the area that we're moving to, and then 2 very specific questions. So one of the things we see, and you're going to see this again, is so many of the first responses are simple acknowledgments of the receipt of an email, and then you start asking them more questions as if you have to re-qualify the lead. You don't trust these online people. You know, now send me your request again, and I'll get back to you. In addition, we always selected a specific community whenever that was an option on the page, that the builder would know that we had genuine interest in what we were asking more about. Gave them all the information and tracked results for a full 45 days, going beyond the 30 days of previous surveys. So that actually makes the results a little bit worse in terms of overall follow-up. Percentages stayed similar, we'll see, but we tracked for an extra 15 days.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you know, just coming from experience, sitting in the seat of an online sales specialist and a sales executive on the floor, when you get a lead like this, you should go into full-blown stalker mode. You know, fangs should be growing, you know, because this just doesn't any better. This is the highest converting lead. Full contact information, email address, and a question from a community-specific page. It doesn't get any better than this. And this is how we broke it down. Tell them about the builders.
Yeah, so we took the Professional Builders Housing Giants list and broke them into 4 categories. And in the guide that Lasso will have available, you know, we break down a little bit from each of these groups. So if you're in one of these groups, you'll be able to get a little additional insight that we'll have time to cover today. But 5 of the top 10 builders, 9 of the top, you see that list there. What's important to remember is that the smallest builder surveyed had revenue last year of $79 million. So everyone we looked at for sure had the resources to not just put a program in place and check the box, but to make it a world-class solution.
Absolutely. So we wanted to kind of slice and dice this by market and not just say, hey, top builders, bottom builders, in between, because that's what the whole study did last year and takes that into play. But, you know, a little bit from each one just to see how they're doing. And everybody, I'm sure, on the webinar is saying, come on, give us the results. Tell us what happens. But we really do want to explain what we're doing and how we're doing it, because I think that's an important piece of the puzzle. So let's get right into it. Drum roll, please. Are you guys ready for the results? If you're ready for the results, please fire off in the questions and let us know that you are ready. Right? Okay, here we go. 33% never emailed. Okay? 33%, even in a smaller sampling size, guys, 33% never sent an email. Again, auto responses don't count. Kevin, why don't we count auto responses?
Because your prospects don't count them either.
Okay?
It's simply a receipt.
It's a receipt. That's all it is. Dave, why don't we count autoresponders?
Well, it's really an expectation now. So people understand that it isn't a personal communication. It's really an expectation. Like Kevin said, it's really just a receipt. There's, you know, a lot of times in the autoresponders, there's a next call to action.
That's right.
Someone will be in touch with you. So we've almost set the stage for disappointment many times, and in this case, 33% of the time there was disappointment on the end of the registrant. So this is quite an astounding number, to say the least.
Absolutely. So this has remained the same and following in line with what we've seen with previous years. And again, the autoresponder, if you guys are out there trying to cheat it with an autoresponder that makes it look like a real person did it, everybody knows there's no way to address a specific question that they're moving from Montana and what they're looking for in an autoresponder. So customers do the smell test and they understand. They really know. So those don't count. This is any kind of personal response at the beginning. And 33% never emailed. That, guys, $70 million or more in revenue. No excuses here. But at least we got the. Go ahead, yeah.
I was just going to say, and that's not emailed twice or three times, right? That's not a single email, not once. Yeah.
Never. And yes, people ask us, do you check your spam folder? Yes, we do on our secret shopper account. We do check our spam folder. We turn spam off. You should see the spam we get. It's amazing. I could, do a lot of things with those spam emails. The next piece is the phone. Guys, and 80% of sales executives never picked up the phone and called. Again, this remains consistent that we've seen year to year before. So right off the bat, we see we're not hitting the customer expectations and we are making them work too hard. If you've heard me speak over the past couple of months, a year, I have this saying where I talk about your customers expect an easy button. This has to be the easiest thing for them. There's already a lot involved in this process. It has to be easy from the start. Okay, so them filling out a form, giving them all this information and not responding, you are making your customer work and jump through hoops. That is not even close to what we should be doing. We can't fight the build from the beginning, right? So right off the bat, just from a response standpoint, we've got to do a better job. Agreed, Kevin?
Absolutely.
All right, so the next up we looked at response time, okay? This includes all response time types, phone and email. Only 13% made it in less than an hour, another 10% in 1 to 2 hours. 13% between 4 and 24 hours, and 26% 24 hours plus the 33 that never responded. So, yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
And one person's initial response came over 20 days later.
Oh, yeah.
Still
Then
not
they said
20 days, isn't it?
Then there were six more pieces of follow-up within a week, but that first 20 days, sorry.
Yeah, they forgot their password to their CRM. Hey, so that does not count for fast, in case anybody's wondering. And I bet that email started off with, "I'm sorry for the delay," which if you ever start off your emails with, "I'm sorry for the delay," that's just code for, "I don't care about you, Mr. Prospect," right? We don't want to do that. Guys, less than an hour should be during business hours, okay? And we did this all during business hours. It's submitted during business hours. Less than an hour should be the norm. Quite honestly, I'd say less than 15 minutes should be what you strive for as a company. We've talked about this over and over again. If you can get an email response, if you can get a call within 5 minutes or less, guys, that makes all the difference in the world. And I want to just make a little note here. If you need a notification, get fired to your cell phone or a text message that says you got a new lead or something that buzzes, dings, dongs, zaps you in your side of your body, whatever it is. You need to know that when a new lead comes, you should stop everything you do and follow up right away by email and phone. That is the customer's expectation. You are striving for a wow, right? Oh, wow, I can't believe that you got back to me. I can't believe I'm talking to you. Listen, I filled out the form at 6 other builders, right? And so the initial response time, you have to build your program on speed. I really want to encourage you there. And this, again, mirrors in a smaller segment, but it mirrors what we saw from a response time from previous studies. So get on the stick. I say that with love in my heart. Get on the stick. Email your prospects and call back. Now, the next piece that we look at, before we get into the actual quality metrics, the next piece we look at is the total response count. So how many times over 45 days are they responding? So check this out. This includes all response types. Only 27%, less than 1/3 followed up 3 times or more in 45 days. 3 times or more in 45 days. Only 14% followed up 6 times or more in 45 days. Okay, so as you see, you've got to follow up at least, I'd say at least 6 times in 45 days with your prospects to get them to respond. A lot of you guys on this call today will say, we get responses on the 4th or the 5th email. Right? It takes time to get them going. And only 7% of all builders use video email in this survey as part of their follow-up mix. And And we see that, again, being mirrored. That's a huge opportunity. We talk about video email till we're blue in the face because we love it. And guys, only 50% of builders leverage email marketing in this time frame, which is a great tool. So Kevin, talk about the difference between when we say follow-up
marketers,
and
we're talking to you.
Yeah.
The marketers, your job to be the support system beneath all of the entire sales team, online and traditional in-model sales teams. You're the support network to make sure that everyone gets at least something. And so all these numbers are the personal follow-up, or personal in quotation marks follow-up from an inside or an on-site salesperson, but only 50% of the companies surveyed sent any type of communication, newsletter, graphical in nature, that obviously came from a marketing department.
That's right. And we really differentiate between marketing and follow-up, right? Follow-up is over here. Marketing can go alongside of this. And a lot of people go, well, is that too much at one time? Or is it? No, a nice marketing email newsletter that's talking about something great, that's going on in the organization in conjunction with follow-up from a sales rep. Guys, we have a huge opportunity right here to make sure we're getting in front of them and meeting their expectations. So the total response count, again, huge opportunity for persistence and consistency in that first 45 days. We have seen with looking at the conversion rates and from time to creation to appointment creation to sale, 45 days is the magical count. After that, you have 30 to 40% of your buyers that are going to be long-term prospects, but the rest of them are making buying decisions within 45 days. So this is crunch time. This is the Super Bowl. We've got to make sure that we've got that follow-up happening. Guys, in a combined, only 3%, this number did not change at all from year to year, even with the smaller count. Only 3% made a combined more than one phone call and more than two emails. We talk about this number all the time. Why? Lead nurturing takes a variety of communication. You cannot only rely on email, because some people aren't even getting it. It's not making it through. It's getting caught in the promotions folder. So do not pick up the phone and call and miss the opportunity to leave a voicemail, tell them to check their email, et cetera, et cetera. And I want to just kind of talk about this too for a second. People don't leave voicemails anymore either. They may be calling sometimes, but not leaving voicemail. Guys, don't ever miss the opportunity to leave a great voicemail, to encourage your prospect to check their email, to call you back, and to get them excited. Voicemails don't work for one of two reasons. One, nobody's leaving them, right? That's why they don't work, because it's not happening. Or two, you're ill-prepared. You don't have anything to say. There's no clear call to action or next step in that voicemail. When you do that and put it together and piggyback emails and calls together, there's a 30% increase in response rate. So we're going for engagement. Do not fear or forget the phone. All right, Dave, got any questions or comments before we move on to response quality from the audience?
Comments right now are just questions about, what was the interaction? Did you interact, after somebody responded back to you? And what I'm also seeing is just people are shocked by the results. We hear that every single year, that a lot of these numbers are truly astounding to see. Yep. And it's really, we need to take it upon ourselves as sales professionals to not only identify that this is unacceptable, but at the same time have something in place to make a change.
Oh, absolutely.
This was as I was doing this, I was the shopper. I listened to every result, I read every email, and this actually became extremely frustrating. The original intent of this year's study was to look at best practices in what was being said and the quality of it, assuming that we would get focusing on these folks with systems in place and processes in place, that we would be doing a completely different style of presentation this year. And actually what it did was just make me angry. The number is so easy to figure out in this one, right? 3% means one. One of those 30 builders followed up with more than one phone call and more than 2 emails. And I won't tell you who, but they were one of the top 5 builders in the country. One of the top 10. So in that initial group, that means, again, there's 4 other builders who have billions of dollars in revenue who aren't getting this done. And yet, as home builders, we want to complain that we can't fight against the big guys. And it's really, really easy in this space.
Well, and it's interesting when we give these stats, because I always go through the same emotional path here. First thing is, like, seriously, are you kidding me? The second part is like, what the heck is going on? We've got all these tools. This should be helping us. We should be easier. And then the third thing I say to myself is, and everybody on this call, look up. We have a 51% attendance score. Click on your screen, look up here, say hi. I want to make sure you're paying attention. Guys, this is what you should be saying when you hear these stats. Job security. Job security. Guys, it is so easy to outpace and perform the market if you focus on a diligent, persistent, and personal follow-up plan. But that's not going to cut it even enough anymore, is it, Kevin? We got to go up one notch and take that quality level higher, because what you'll see on this next screen is where the quality is going. So why don't you talk a little bit about that initial response on the quality side?
Yeah, so we got 20 total responses. 35 of them were personal emails, so it looked like it was one-to-one communication, a text-only message that received a quality score of 1, which again means they ignored all of the questions, all of the information that we gave them in the form. 45% of those initial 20 responses were not autoresponders. I could tell that they were sent at some point in time later. However, and we're going to look at an example in a second, they were not written like people actually speak. And oftentimes, again, ignored all of the information we gave them. Only 20% of those 20 responses paid any attention to the information given to them whatsoever.
Absolutely, guys. And listen, we can put yourself in the 20%. You can put yourself in the 5%. Because let's take a look at some of these emails. Kind of walk them through this, Kevin. This is interesting.
It's crazy, guys. So we've protected the names for those job security reasons. But this is an actual email that I received. This is only half of the email, by the way. We can't fit it all on the screen. But look at the way it's formatted. Look at the way that it's written. This is not how people think, write, or speak. And the formatting gives it away more than anything else, perhaps. But guys, this is almost as it's actually more offensive than an autoresponder, or thinking the autoresponder is getting the job done, because if you're trying to build trust and rapport so that you get a response from your lead saying to them, hey, I'm here, this is me trying to communicate to you in such a blatantly way that is not helping you build that trust and rapport.
Yeah, a couple notes too on this email, tips for this person who's sending it. Number one, guys, almost 70% of emails are read on a mobile device, so if you try to read this novel on a mobile device, you'd be scrolling for weeks. Right? That's too hard. People don't read anymore. They scan their emails. Number two, like Kevin was saying, if it doesn't look like a real person wrote it, it can be crafted well. The language can be great. It can be well formatted, but if it doesn't look like a real person wrote it, people instantly, in their mind, both consciously and subconsciously, kick it to the curb. Right? So this got a quality score of like -1, right? So this is a 1. Let's show them what a 2 looks like.
This is actually that is what we classified as a generic email, and that the stats on that slide about how many came from generic. This is a personal email. It was flagged as personal because it's conceivable that someone did write this email. However, it still gets a score of 1 because of the bad formatting, and again, more than anything, they ignored all the information that was given. And one of the things that really became like nails on a chalkboard to me was these personal messages or generic messages that, again, ended with, if you would just tell me a little bit more about what you're looking for, I'd love to get in touch with you. Or, if you could answer these questions, I'll get back to you with relevant information. And guys, I shopped for my own home not too long ago, so I'm still in this frame of mind. That is extremely frustrating. When you've already given that information, it just proves that I'm not being listened to. And not valued as a consumer.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't make, again, that same concept, don't make your customer work, and even taking that phrase one step further, don't make them prove to you that they are a prospect. Everybody's an A until they tell us otherwise, right? Everybody, they're a buyer until we know different. And a lot of people say, they're doing it because they don't have time or they have too many leads or whatever. It doesn't matter. The customer doesn't care. It's about the customer. And if we put the customer first, we'll see different results. All right, the final email.
My other favorite thing on that one is it says we also have great incentives.
Oh, that's a good way to start. Let's open with that in the first email, right?
I'm going to ignore you, but we can give you a discount. So this was by far, let's move on to the good stuff. And this is a screen you're going to want to pay attention to. Go back, and once Lasso sends you the slides and the recordings, go back and look at this one in more detail. This one is awesome. Congratulations on your upcoming move from Montana. Right out of the gate, it was not talking about them and we're a builder with a great reputation, except it was, I'm paying attention to you, I know your situation, and I'm trying to connect with you. And then there's a couple links in there, so this is probably, the bun of the email was pre-built, and we had to put in the meat of it personal. But the links are great. It gives me some specific information there about the area, knowing that I'm relocating, and then responds to the specific product question I had about 3 to 4 bedroom homes. It gives me the timeline for building as well, and then at the end, just a summary of basically, I'm here to help you. You just let me know how I can do that. And so, by far and away, this was the best email of the bunch that we received.
Yeah, absolutely. And something to keep in mind, just personalization doesn't mean we can't have templates. Okay, I think a lot of people go, well, shoot, I got to write an email every single time. No, you don't have to write a full email every single time, but if you are not changing up enough of the content to pay attention to the customer, they know the difference between the two. Sales automation is allowed, but we'll talk about how we differentiate between the types of leads here.
One other quick point, though. So even though that one was the best, it was the only personal follow-up. There were marketing emails sent by this company. It was the only personal follow-up, and no phone calls came from this individual or this company.
Right, right. So hooray for a good email. This needs to come in conjunction with a voicemail that says what, or a call that would say, hey, I just want to let you know I sent you that information. We'd love to talk with you by phone to help you make this process easy for you. And we'll show you some voicemails here in just a second. But again, your job is to be in front of the customer. I think a lot of people confuse the follow-up too with trying to sell something. You're not selling anything. We're not selling anything. We are in touch. Remember, and everybody look up on the screen, 60% attentiveness. I want you to look up on the screen, move your mouse on the screen. I want to know that you're looking up at me. Guys, every one of these people have given us permission to reach out, to call and email. They've given us permission to market to them. They hit submit. It's only 1 to 3% of the 5,000, 10,000 unique visitors that are on your website. If you don't go overboard in communication with them, you're missing the opportunity because, guys, they expect it. That's what they want you to do. They know what's going to happen when they fill out the form. They're afraid of it. But when you follow up in a way that is helping the customer, it makes all the difference in the world. So I just want to encourage you guys all on that. Next up, we're going to talk about the voicemail side. So, in this webinar, we say, hey, we'll show you what a good email looks like. This is what a good email looks like, right? This is what a bad email looks like. Bad, good, right? You want to make sure you're paying attention to the customer. But let's talk about the voicemail, too. Again, a lost art, something that's missed. People are afraid of the phone. You have to combine phone calls and emails together in your follow-up. Something I'll tell you that I told another team I was training yesterday. They're going, hey, Mike, but don't some people prefer to work, talk via email? I was like, yeah, absolutely. And if you find that out, we want to pay attention to their communication method. But if they've given us a phone number, that's permission to call. Well, Mike, getting a phone call, that could be annoying to some people. That could be an interruption, and the sales executive goes, I'm afraid I'm just bothering them. And I told everybody, and I want to tell you this too, everybody that's out there listening to this and the recording in the future, just write this down really big. You are annoying them. You are interrupting somebody. Nobody is expecting a call from an unknown number. But if you take that first opportunity and tell them who you are and what you're doing and how you can help, you're not annoying them anymore. You're just being helpful. So yes, we started off that way, and everybody's caught off guard by a call that they don't know that's coming in. So don't freak out on that. But voicemails work, calls work. They're extremely powerful. In fact, I see Chris on here asking, getting a phone number is a game changer. Absolutely, if you use it, right? So when you get a phone number, that's the one you want to call. You want to make sure you talk to them at least 3 times in that first month, right, Kevin?
Yeah, and guys, remember, like Mike said, the first time you call, you're going to get a lot of voicemails because it's from an unknown number. But this is your opportunity not to convey information, but to convey emotion, excitement, and again, build that trust and rapport so that they'll respond to the other forms of follow-up that you're using if they don't want to talk to you on the phone. And too often what we're going to hear is an example of what I call a meh voicemail, which is, as you're listening to it, you can almost imagine the individual looking at the screen on their CRM and saying, hi, my CRM said to call you now. Here's my number. Call me back. I'd love to help you. Right?
Yeah,
and that
absolutely.
is not not powerful in any sense.
Yeah, your voicemail is a 20 to 30-second commercial for your company, and the next step in the process. Remember, we're layering this on top of each other to make sure that we get a response. So Kevin's going to fire up one of the first voicemail examples. Why don't you go ahead and play that when you are ready, my friend?
Here we go. This is a score of 1.
See, nothing, no call. That's why you get a 1. If you didn't leave a voicemail.
Calling from, and I just wanted to touch base and see what information I can get for you. This is my cell phone number. Please give me a call back. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, that's exciting. Right? Really? Again, what do we do on a voicemail? I'll tell you what we do, and we'll listen to the second one. The voicemail, you want to introduce who you are, remind them why you're calling, tell them you're there to help, ask a specific question, give a call to action, and then leave your contact information twice, right? So that's the how you leave a voicemail. So not so hot. Let's give an example of a great voicemail. Are we going to the great voicemail or mediocre next?
This is great, and it's so great that when my wife heard this one, she listened to a lot of the follow-up calls as well. Her response was very simple, wow. She just said, wow. She was watching Fixer Upper on TV, not really paying attention, turned her head and said, wow, who is that? Because I'd want to talk to them, right? So here is a good voicemail. And at one point of clarification, someone said, hey, the links in that really good email were for Tennessee, and you said Montana. We were moving from Montana to the location that we were shopping. So just remember that as you're listening to this good voicemail.
Hi, how are you? I am calling from a fantastic community built by and I wanted to get in contact with you. I understand you're relocating from Montana to be closer to family, which I think is very exciting. I did the same thing about 11 years ago. So give me a call when you get a second. I would love to set up an appointment with you to show you around the community. And we have 2 quick delivery homes. Hopefully one of those would work for you. So give me a call. Is my personal cell. I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope you have a happy New Year. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
We could break that down in so many ways, but everything about that email was great. And some of you might even be thinking, but wait, she was kind of selling there. Guys, remember, we asked about this specific community on the builder's website. So her going for the appointment and saying, we have homes available, and I think you're going to love it here, that is all, again, more than fair game and is helpful to me because it conveys that she's actually excited. She does think this is going to be good for me. But the thing that gets your attention right away before you hit the delete button those first couple seconds is, it's the feel, felt, found. It's, I went through the same experience you did, and it's going to be great.
First of all, a couple things to look at. That voicemail wasn't more than 30 seconds. You can get a lot done in 30 seconds, folks. Second of all, you can tell she was ready for that voicemail. Peyton Manning just retired. For those of you who don't know, I'm telling you, Peyton Manning just retired. And when people talk about, one guy said, hey, this is my biggest takeaway from being around Peyton Manning the entire time during his career. He said he wasn't the best quarterback. And everybody go, what? You're crazy. He's not the best quarterback. He's like, he was not the best. He was not the most talented quarterback out there. But he was the most prepared person out there. He was. If you walk on the field, there was no one who's going to out-prepare Peyton Manning. And I think a lot of times we're winging it. Oh, I'm calling. Oh, okay, what's happening? I don't know what's going on. Some of us expect to get, well, I'm calling them. They should answer. I'm like, well, what happens when we get a voicemail? If you prepare for a voicemail, you've got a huge opportunity to do what just happened right there. Get them excited. Call attention, guys. Let's just face it. They need a reminder to check their email. Even putting that in there, telling them who you are. Guys, there's so much that comes across even in just the tone. The fact that Melanie said, wow, is because of who that person was and the excitement they conveyed versus that first one, which was just lackluster, to say the least. So this is what's happening on our voicemails, okay? So if you put that voicemail together with this right over here, right, a great email breaking something down. Guys, if we just had a couple of those throughout the follow-up process in sales automation, you're in the top 1%. I think it's fantastic. So Dave, before we break it down and talk about some best practices, any questions or comments from the audience that we can address right now?
Well, I know everybody's been checking their CRM for an Avery in there in the last couple of months, so that's good to see. Everybody's checking. I'm very happy to see that. Mike, we're getting a lot of questions about, okay, this is fabulous information, and I think it's people are getting a lot of insight from it. There's also a lot of questions about, okay, now what should I do? What should my process be then? You know, and we're seeing a lot of that in the questions from our registrants. So.
Okay. Great. Yeah. No, I think we're gonna talk about the best practices, and I see a couple other questions in here too, and heard someone else say it live. I mean, are you interacting with these customers or not? So, you know, that's something that we didn't do on this study, but it is something that we have done on secret shops for clients that we have. You know, they go, hey, we want you to submit some with no response, and we want to submit some with a response. Here's what I'll tell you happens a majority of the time. We respond back as a secret shopper that we got their information and have another question on what the HOAs are for the community. We get a great response back from a sales rep and then nothing. Okay? A lot of times they respond back with great information once they have a live one, right? We've got a live one here. I actually got an email response, and then it sits there. And there's two reasons that happens. Number one, they're not trusting you know, their actual tool in front of them, their CRM like Lasso, for their extended brain. They're trying to keep it all up here. They're trying to remember that. And the other thing is they're not putting in a future activity to follow up even if the customer hasn't heard. They are just assuming, this is a great customer, I'm going to email them the answer and they're going to get back to them. Guys, you have to rely on your system in front of you. You have to rely on Lasso for your process, because most of us are not wired to remember those things. In fact, even those of us who are detail-oriented and very diligent, we can't remember 50-plus leads and what the next step is. We have to use that CRM because it's our job. You've heard us say it over and over again. We say it at our conference. We got to convert this interest into revenue. We can't just make friends. We can't just have people emailing back and forth. We have to move through this process to take them through the next step, and that's differentiating between what? Efficiency and effectiveness. Great. Lasso's awesome because it has sales automation. Whoopee, right? What good is sales automation, like Kevin said at the beginning, if we're just checking the box, if we're just sending the email, we're not paying attention to the customer. Even going through this study, it made us double check and recheck. Are our own customers taking it to that level they need to take to on personalization, right? Do we differentiate? Because you can be efficient without being effective, right? You can be efficient without getting a result. And this quote is powerful. Hey, if you guys are all still on this webinar, 51% attentiveness. I want you guys to be attentive. Look up here, pay attention, write this down. Never, ever, ever confuse motion with progress, okay? We can have motion going on through efficiencies, but that's not progressing this customer down the path that we want. Do not confuse motion with progress and say, I got my job done. I have 7 emails that went out. No, progress is engagement. Progress is getting a customer to respond back. Progress is setting an appointment. Progress is creating a sale. So I just want to encourage you guys all on that, because here's what we saw. Guys, the average quality score was less than 1. Less than 1 and 3. And what was the best, Kevin?
The absolute best was 2.3, but again, they were not part of the 3%. This was not the person who followed up. They only followed up in total, this particular builder, 3 times. Now, every follow-up they did was great, but only 3 times in 45 days.
Right. So we have a distinct opportunity, and you've seen this before, hopefully. If you haven't, here's the first. When we talk about what our process is, when we get the lead, when we have the first interaction through that meet and greet, and the customer either responds or they don't respond. So for those of you asking, well, what do you do? Well, if they're a non-responsive customer, you put them on short-term follow-up, right? That's 7 to 9 contacts in the first 30 days. The goal is to invoke a response, to get them to respond, qualify, select one, and set the appointment, right? This is broken down very easy. If they don't respond in 30 days, right, and they don't take action, we move into long-term follow-up. Long-term follow-up is a salesperson sending a human email once a month, and if they have a phone number, picking up the phone and calling once a month. That's what long-term follow-up is, combined with email marketing, going out from corporate, going out from the community. Right, Kevin? We put multiple points of contact. They should be getting 1 to 2 email newsletters, 1 personal sales follow-up, and 1 phone call every single month, right? Until the buyer says, take a hike. That's our goal. We're always trying to invoke a response and set the appointment. Now, what we determined from this and from working with a lot of great builders out there is that not all leads are created equal. Kevin, would you say this lead was a better than average lead that's submitted out there? Yes or no?
Again, it is literally everything you need to know to customize the response. and either say, yes, we have something great for you, no, we don't. Dive in deeper and again, build that relationship that's going to lead to an appointment.
That's right. So then we need to start differentiating between the lead that we got today that's basically, if you can't convert that lead, you shouldn't be in this business, right? So it's a great lead versus maybe it's a brochure request. Maybe it's a third-party lead. Maybe it's a recommended lead. Maybe it's,
Maybe it's just a name and an email address and nothing else, or just name and phone number.
That's right. So little detail, lots of detail. You need to differentiate in both through the system and your follow-up process and also in your head, right? In your mind, when you see that lead, you go, this is a better than average lead. I'm going to take a little bit more time on this. This one is generic. It's something coming from somewhere else. I can layer over a little bit more sales automation without having a problem there. But the more time that you put into this, the better you will do. The more time that you take with those leads that need those personalization, the better response you get. For a lot of people, we talk about video email, and they go, hey, I send them. And I go, great. And it's the same email that they've recorded.